Everyone has a bright light inside of them that deserves to be seen by the world. That's why it's time to shine the light on the extraordinary who are accomplishing phenomenal things. This is the Shine Out Loud Show with Lillian Ogbogo.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever in the world you are, and welcome to another episode of the Shine Out Loud Show. People, this is our first live show in a couple of weeks. I'm excited. Yeah, I'm always excited when I'm doing my shows. What can I tell you? I have fantastic guests, and no more so than the guest I have tonight. This woman, I seem to attract the most multi-talented, multifaceted people. She is a journalist, a blogger, an author, a publisher, and she's going to tell me the last thing that she is a hair coach. I know we have coaches for our business, our personal life, for our fitness. I didn't know we have hair coaches, and tonight I have the most extraordinary woman. I have Tola Okogwu, the author of Daddy Do My Hair series, on the show with me tonight. So join me and welcome this fantastic woman. Hi, Tola.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. You're welcome. So yes, let's jump in. You are really multifaceted. A mistress of all. Okay. So let's jump right to the bottom of what you are and come to the top, because you're a hair coach. So I've had a personal trainer, which is a coach for my fitness. I know about a personal development coach. I know about a coach for my business. I know about a coach and mentor at the day job. Please, pray tell, what is a hair coach?
Well, a hair coach is not too dissimilar to all of the people you just mentioned and described. It's just that it's within the sphere of hair care. I have been blogging about hair care for almost 9 years.
Hold on one second. We seem to be not getting all of your sound, which is very... No, this is not. Give me 1 second. Folks, we're having a bit of difficulties. For some odd reason, we are not having her come through. Give me 1 second. Let's find out why this is happening. And we just had you. You keep talking. Yes. No, give me 1 more second. I'm going to figure this out. We just lost your sound. Yes, please.
Seems okay here.
Okay, let's try this again. Please, people,
Yeah.
Can you, yes, we can.
You can hear?
You. Yes.
Oh, yay.
Oh, yes. So
Yeah.
we are so sorry. We just lost your sound.
It's okay.
You were starting to tell us what a hair coach is.
Yes. A hair coach, as I was saying, is not any different from any of the hair coaches that you described already. It's just within the sphere of hair care. I've been blogging about hair care for about almost 9 years now. And in all the time that I've been doing it, what I discovered is that the knowledge that Black women need to effectively look after their hair, maintain healthy hair, has been lost. Now, there's lots of reasons why that's the case. Historical, social, cultural, which I won't go into, but that remains that knowledge has been lost, and it's being slowly reclaimed, and a lot of the information is freely and widely available, especially online. But most women, especially in this day and age, do not have the time to kind of dig through and acquire that knowledge again. I've spent 9 years gaining this knowledge. So most women, they want to see results. They want to improve the health of their hair, and they, much like a coach in any area, I like to think of it as where you would have a personal trainer that kind of helps you and coaches you to get the best out of your body physically. I do the same with your hair. So I will tell you what you need to do to achieve the healthiest hair you possibly can and achieve the goals that you have for your hair, whether it be increased length, increased thickness. So I sort of take the thinking out of it for you, but then in the process of coaching with me, you will learn all the tools and the information and the knowledge you need in order to be able to look after your hair yourself.
Okay, so, the question that one will then ask is, if we have a hair coach, a hair consultant, does that mean we no longer need the trip to our beauty saloons? Do we, how
No,
does that
yeah,
work?
the two very much work hand in hand. The thing about a hair salon is a salon is there to style your hair. Now, there are a lot of women that can't do, because I like to think of it as two different things. There's the styling aspect of your hair and there's the daily maintenance and care. And oftentimes the two actually contradict each other. And they clash. So a lot of things that we do stylistically to our hair, whether it be use heat, straighteners, relaxers, dyes, that kind of stuff, they actually cause damage to our hair. So when you go to a salon, most times you're getting your hair styled as opposed to kind of the daily care of moisturizing your hair. You may go to the salon to wash your hair because you feel you can't do it. But
Right.
my angle is to teach you how to do those things so you don't feel you have to go to a salon. So what I do is teaching you what to do in between salon trips. So you can still go to the salon for specialist services. For example, if you relax your hair, you would go to a salon to get that done. Coloring would be another one. Deep treatments if you want. But I teach you how to do the day to day. So the things you would do on a daily basis, from moisturizing your hair to how to shampoo your hair, condition your hair, what products you should be doing, and how to spot when something is going wrong so that you can make a change and fix things before any damage is done. So you don't have to stop going to the salon. And some of my clients, as a result of working with me, don't either feel like they don't need to go to the salon anymore, or going to their trips, it's reduced greatly, because before they were relying heavily on the salon to do everything because they couldn't do anything themselves. And I don't think that's necessarily healthy. I think every woman should have a basic understanding of how to look after her hair. She may choose not to, whether it's for time purposes or reasons, but that knowledge should still be there, especially when you get to a point where you have children. And part of the reason why the knowledge of how to look after black hair has been lost is that women lost that information. They couldn't pass it on to their daughters, and the cycle just perpetuated itself.
Right. Okay. So, and that's actually a very good point. So you work hand in hand with, their hairstylists and everything. So I like that. Now, there's a point you started off with saying that there's a lot of information out there in, in the ether of the internet about hair care,
Yeah.
especially black hair. Now, I have followed some hair care videos and, hair care journeys and how to get beast mode for your hair, how to do this with your hair. And I look at those videos and go, I don't have 4 hours to wash my hair. I'm sorry, I just don't. I don't have 4 hours to just wash my hair, wrap my hair, and I'm like, who has the time? So how will that work with someone with a busy outdoor life? How can you do the hair journey? Because it looks
Well,
complicated.
it can look complicated. And what you have to understand about YouTubers and bloggers is they are content providers. So their job, especially in respect to their platforms, is to go out there, try new things, get as much information, and then give it out to you. And it's up to you to take what you need and the bits and pieces that are relevant to you. And that's why a lot of people find what is out there on the internet overwhelming, because there's a lot, but it's hard to be able to distill down into what is relevant to me and what can I or what should I be taking away. Hair care does not have to be complicated. Wash days do not have to take 4 hours. I am a very busy working mom of two. My eldest is not even yet 4, so I don't have the time to be spending 4 hours washing my hair, let alone hers. And my routines are compact and geared towards my lifestyle. And as a hair coach, that's part of what I do, which is to build routines and build a regimen that works for you based not just on your hair and your goals, but also on your lifestyle. Because if it's not compatible and it doesn't make sense, you're not going to be able to sustain it. And so you will fall back into old habits and you won't be able to achieve the results you want. So it doesn't make any sense to kind of overcomplicate things. Now, of course, there are people who like to do complicated routines, who want to do the 4 hours. And by all means, if you have the time to invest in that area, then I can build a regimen for you. So it's tailored and made to suit the individual.
Okay, all right. Yeah, no, I don't have 4 hours. I'm just gonna be honest and real. I am lazy when it comes to hair care. I don't want to spend 4 hours of my life just washing my hair. And I'm like,
You
what am I
don't
doing?
need
You
to.
know.
You really do. I mean, I have to wonder if you're spending 4 hours washing your hair, what are you washing and what are you washing with? Why it shouldn't really take that long. But as I've been on this journey a long time, and in the early days, my wash routines were long, probably about 2 hours. Because I would do a pre-poo, which is a pre-shampoo treatment, then shampoo, then deep condition for half an hour to several hours, steam treatment. The list can go on. So I think the busier you get, you do kind of think I need to strip this back
Yeah.
and just simplify. And simple's always good, I think.
And yeah, I like the simple, and I think there's also, I think where the work that you're doing is actually going to be very vital is actually separating the myths from what is actual reality and the facts and fiction, because I've seen some hair care tips that say, oh, you need to hang your head upside down to get hair growth. I'm like, I might get blood
Yeah.
to my brain.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of old wives' tales out there, and there is a lot of, and there's a measure of having to separate, as you said, the fact from the fiction. What you were just mentioning is something called the inversion method, and there is a little bit of science behind it, and I do try to approach hair care from a scientific point of view, but I also realize there's a place for old wives' tales and experiential learning, because the thing about black hair is there isn't a lot of research done into black hair because the companies that do the research, Western companies, they haven't tapped into the reality of how much black women will spend on their hair. So they don't really think there's any money in it. So they don't do much research in black hair. That's beginning to change, but historically they don't. It's why our product ranges for a long time have been on the kind of cheaper end, both in terms of price and also in terms of quality. There's not much research there. So sometimes the old wives' tales, there is a grain of truth in there. Science hasn't caught up yet to why it works. For example, one of the things I'm recently researching and getting to grips with is something called rice rinsing. And women in China have been doing it for hundreds of years.
Oh yeah, with rice water.
Yeah, so using rice water to rinse your hair. And there is now research being done into the scientific reasons, and it's an enzyme, I think, that's in the water that actually penetrates the hair shaft, strengthens it, reduces friction. All those things will contribute to reduce breakage, which is where you'll see length retention and growth. So if someone said to you, rinse your hair with rice, you'd be like, oh, that sounds crazy, but there's science behind it. So, and even as I was saying, the inversion method of turning your head upside down, the science behind it is that, obviously, as you said, blood flow to the head, which will increase blood circulation around your hair follicles, which can stimulate growth. So, yeah, there are, crazy things out there, but not everything is. And it's, once again, that act of sifting through what is true, what isn't. And then just because it's true doesn't mean it's appropriate or right for your hair. So there's also that part of, yes, I could rinse with rice, but do I need to? And will it really benefit me in the long run compared to how much time it will take me to do? Is there an easier, simpler, quicker way to achieve the same results?
Okay, so I think it's separating the fact and fiction, and also going back to what you said, what works for you. Now, the other question, when we think about what you do, just this fraction of what you do you find that most women are mistaken about their hair and what texture it is, because it now seems to follow some kind of 4B, 2C, AD,
Yeah. I don't prescribe to curl typing. So that whole 4A, 4C, it doesn't tell you anything of use about your hair. I personally believe that typing, it's a visual guide, doesn't tell you anything practical in terms, and when it comes to actually maintenance or care. I think it feeds more into hierarchy that we seem to need in order to be able to place ourselves and say, my curls are better than yours. I'm sorry, that's just, a lot of people might disagree with me, but that's how I feel about a lot of curl typing systems. Maybe that wasn't the intention, but that's what it's become now. And it's become an area of division between women of color, because there's now curl types that people want to have, and then other curl types that people don't want to have so much. So everybody's coveting, 3A to 4A hair, and nobody wants 4C hair. So I'm not really into that. What's more interesting, I think, is to know is stuff like density and the thickness of your hair and your hair strands, because that actually gives you more information about how your hair behaves and what kind of products you should be using for your hair and what's appropriate for your hair. So I'm not a massive prescriber for curl typing, and I think it just causes a lot of confusion.
Okay, so I think I'm going to sit down and have a longer conversation about hair with you.
Sure.
There's one question I have to ask, and I know I said I'm going to move on from hair, but what is your stance on people asking to touch your hair or your daughter's hair?
Okay, so when it comes to my hair, as long as you ask politely, I don't have a problem with you touching my hair. And I know this is a big issue in the community with Black women, and a lot of it comes from bad experiences where people do rudely just stick their hands in your hair. So my rule of thumb is if you ask, I have no problem with it, especially if it's from someone who isn't Black, because oftentimes it's coming from a place of curiosity and a place of ignorance. And the only way to fight ignorance is through knowledge. So when it's harmless curiosity, it's a learning opportunity, both for them and for me, and it can open dialogue. So I have no problem with it. And I've had some amazing conversations just from having that interaction with people, because there's a lot of myths that still perpetuate between the races, and they have no opportunity to learn more about us and our differences in order to realize actually we're more similar than we are different. So until we open ourselves up to have that dialogue, nothing is going to change. So as a rule of thumb, I try to be as open as I can. When it comes to my children, it's a bit more difficult because it's safeguarding issues. And I'm very careful about separating my children from what I do, especially the public aspects of it, especially on social media, because I never want people to feel like they're their property. And it's protecting their privacy and giving them an opportunity to have a clean space. So when they're older, their footprint is theirs, as opposed to what I've been putting online about them this whole time. So my husband and I are quite careful, try to be, about our children's privacy. So I wouldn't let a stranger touch my child's hair, mainly for safeguarding purposes. She's a child, and I would hope that most people would understand and respect that. So it's different with friends and family and people we know really well, because of course that's just social interaction. But yeah, that tends to be my stance on it.
Okay, and that makes total sense. That makes, because like you said, she's a child and you want to keep her space.
Yeah.
And that brings us into this. We are talking about your book series called Daddy Do My Hair.
Yeah.
What was the defining moment that inspired this series of books?
It was me surfing online. I was on Instagram and I follow a few illustrators who draw Black art. And I saw an illustration of a Black father with his Black daughter, sitting between his knees, and he was doing her hair. And it really struck a strong chord with me, because in my life, my husband does my daughter's hair, and he had to learn because I was doing 9 to 5. So I had to go into London 2 days a week for that job and leave quite early. So he would have to get her ready and take her to nursery. And so in getting her ready encompasses everything, including her hair. And I had a couple of options. And for a lot of mothers, this best option would be to put their child in a long, a protective style. So something like cane row or braids or something, so that either they or their partner wouldn't have to do it on a daily basis. However, those kind of styles are quite damaging to my daughter's hair. So I wasn't willing to sacrifice her hair for our convenience. So I asked my husband if he'd be willing to learn just basic stuff, the ability to moisturize her hair, detangle it and put it up in a ponytail. So pretty simple stuff. But would he be willing to learn? And he was really up for it. As far as he was concerned, she was his daughter, and he wanted to be able to do for her everything that I could do for her in terms of care and maintenance, because he hates it when that term about fathers being babysitters. He is her parent too. Yes. So I taught him that. So when I saw that picture and how closely it kind of mirrored my life and my husband and my daughter's relationship, the words "Daddy, do my hair" instantly popped into my head, and I literally wrote the first book that point, like in that day, the first book was written.
Wow.
Obviously, it went through many edits to get to the point it was when we published it. But yeah, that's how inspired I was. And then I think the subsequent days, 2 other books came out of me in that period as well. So as a writer, it rarely happens like that, because I'm in the middle of writing a couple of other books, one that's been in the making for about 3 years. So I know that inspiration that strikes like that is a rare thing. But that was that's how the books came about.
Okay. And, you've just kind of gone into a couple of questions I was going to ask, because the book is important, because it's not just about, seeing little black girls in books, because that's a defining moment as well, because the illustration is based on your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about that. It's also, there seems to be an element of saying, I'm not playing this idea that the caregiver, care provider has to be mommy. And you were actually challenging some parental gender role myths that are happening. And I think with the book, that seems to be an important theme for you.
Yes, it is. I've been blessed that I've had some very strong male role models in my life. And that's been my experience base. And I know it's not the same for everyone. And often writers write from their experience base. And I was very keenly aware that within children's literature, fathers are often portrayed as a source of amusement. They're usually the butt of the joke, shown as incompetent. And so they're not often shown in a positive or strong light. And coupled with that, ethnic minority fathers, especially with the statistics that show us that a lot of ethnic minority fathers are absent.
Right.
So the narrative around black fathers is quite negative. So it was important to me to kind of shift that perception and show that actually that's not always the case. I was also very much inspired by my husband, he's a very, very present father in his children's lives, and that's very important to him. And I have a strong belief, especially raising girls, that, fathers play such a huge, important role for girls, because they are their first role model and their first example of what a man should be. And it's that example they will carry with them for the rest of their lives, both when they're looking for partners. I always feel like if a father loves his daughter well, when it's time for her to pick a man, she will accept nothing less. So I fully appreciate the importance of fathers in their children's lives. So when I was writing the book, yes, it would have probably been easier to do a mummy book, but I just feel like it's been done before as well. And I always like to do something different. So all of those things kind of coupled together, doing it from the perspective of a father. And in this day and age where we're trying to kind of shift how we view men and women and how we view genders, it seemed right and it seemed fitting.
You know what? You said some things that have just struck a chord with me. Yes, I do believe, the father's presence, the father's is the first blueprint, and that is so important for not just little girls, but even little boys, because it teaches them how to be men. But little girls, it's so important. We actually almost sometimes forget that. And actually, what you pointed out about fathers in books, I don't even think it's just, the negative stereotypes stay within our community. If you look at every fairy tale, there's one useless father or another in it, because you're like, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White.
Yeah,
you're like,
it's like when they pick these stepmothers for their daughters, what were they thinking? Were they like smoking something? Because it's like, yeah, I know exactly. And I have a massive issue with fairy stories anyway, as I feel they're not the most fantastic examples for our girls. Like if you think about most of them, Sleeping Beauty slept through her whole story. And Cinderella, don't get me, I think Cinderella's a bit of a wimp, but yeah, that's a whole other story for another day.
That's another, we could go into that. Sleeping Beauty decided, you know what, I'm not going to deal with life, I'm just going to go to sleep. Somebody else can deal with this problem that I've created. And then Snow White ran off with 7 dwarfs. It goes wrong from there. So let's stop before Disney comes for us. We've had a question come in. So question goes, and it's around the question. It's an add-on to the question on touching your hair. They go, so allowing your hair touching is more educational rather than ignorance. They want to know.
Yeah, I see it as fighting ignorance. I mean, I've had some interesting comments said to me by non-black people about black hair because they really don't understand. Like, I'm one of those people, especially before I started looking after my hair, I changed my styles up very frequently. So I'd have a braids in one day, weave in the next. So the length of my hair would be changing constantly. And I didn't realize until one of my white colleagues had the courage to ask me that they thought I had magic hair that could grow. No, literally could grow overnight. It sounds ridiculous to us, but they don't know. They don't know our tricks and what we do with weaves and wigs. I mean, we go to extreme lengths to hide it. So why would they know that it's not really ours, or we kind of are sticking or sewing fake hair into our hair? But they don't know. And most times they don't feel comfortable in asking because it's such a sensitive topic and nobody wants to be accused of being racist. So, and I think it would be wrong to let the ignorance perpetuate. So for me, I see it as an opportunity to shed light, to open up dialogue. And I mean, there are times when somebody might approach you and you can maybe feel the vibes and it's not necessarily an innocent approach.
Right.
But even then, I find that in most situations like that, if you tackle it and throw positivity back at it, you can turn anything around. The worst thing you want to do is fall into that angry black woman stereotype. And as hard as it is, because we're justified sometimes in taking that stance. But actually, if you flip it on its head, throw some love at the situation, it will completely shock that person out of whatever their original intent, because they wouldn't have expected it. And by throwing some love at it and some understanding and some openness, it, once again, as I said, will open up dialogue and you will both learn something new. I guarantee you that.
You know what? That's a very good point. And you just said something that actually made me giggle, because I remember I contract for a day job and I was in one of my contracts. You know, I've been there for a couple of months, changed my style up a couple of times, walked into our daily stand-up meeting. The director of the project stopped speaking, because I came in behind everyone, stopped speaking, looked at me and goes, "Could you please stop changing your hair all the time? It's confusing me."
Yeah, I can see that happening. I've had similar things happen to me or seen similar things happen. It really is baffling for people not in the know about what we do. And it's been a closely guarded secret for so long. But
he was so stressed about it. He was like, "Could you stop doing this? It confuses me. Why? Why is your hair changing?" And I looked at him and I was like, "I will explain it to you, but I'll have to kill you." So, you know, and going back to the book, you decided not just to self-publish, but you decided to create a publishing company around the book series. Why did you decide to go down that road, and why set up your own company?
Yeah, it was not my original plan, which just goes to show the curveballs that life can throw at you. You have to understand how the publishing industry works. There's an elite mentality within the industry, obviously, because if everybody could get published, everybody could write a book, it wouldn't be such a prestigious achievement. So there are many, many gatekeepers within the publishing industry. So it's very difficult to get your manuscript published. In this country, there's a massive issue with diversity within publishing, both career-wise, i.e. Black people or BME people progressing within the publishing industry, as well as BME writers getting their work published. And it is something that has been recognized and being worked, as in they're working towards improving it. But the biggest problem that you'll find is the publishing industry has very small margins. And so it's difficult for publishing companies to make money, and it's getting worse and worse as time goes by. So in this day and age, they're only interested in publishing books by established writers who come with an audience, or celebrities who, once again, come with an audience, because the hardest part in book publishing is the marketing and making people aware of a new writer and their work. So if you come with an audience, a publisher will lap you up and sign you up straight away. So now when you are a new writer, no to little audience, and then you're writing about subject matters that are not tried and tested, i.e. new, i.e. diverse, it makes the publishing industry very nervous. Because they can't guarantee that they will make their money back. And it is a business at the end of the day. So when I wrote my books and I started pitching it out and sending it to publishing companies, I was getting nothing. And I knew from the little research that I'd already done that that was likely to be the case.
Right.
I mean, I think I had one response back from a publisher saying, oh, I've already got something similar, so I'll pass. So once the rejections started coming through, I kind of got to the point where I had to decide, do I believe in my work enough to put my money where my mouth is? Is it important enough for me that this story is told and people get a chance to read it, that I will do whatever I need to? And we are so lucky we are in a day and age that we can self-publish. The advances in technology that previously made it impossible to do so means that now anybody can self-publish their work. And it's changing the industry, it's changing the game.
Right.
So my mother had previously self-published a non-fiction book. So it was also a process that I was slightly aware of. So once I kind of decided, actually, yes, I believe in my work. I believe that this needs to go out. And I had the most amazing level of support and encouragement from my husband to do it and push through. And I think where I would probably have stopped, he was the voice in my head going, you do it, you need to do it. This was for a reason, basically. So once I kind of decided, yes, I'm going to go for it, it kind of came to a how to do it. And as I mentioned, my mother had been through the self-publishing process, and she is an educator, and she was interested in publishing some more books. Okay. So we kind of thought, well, if you're interested in doing that and I'm interested in doing that, why don't we do it together? And we wanted to do it in the long term. So we figured, let's do it properly. Let's do it right. Let's set up a publishing company. And obviously, in the first instance, it was to publish our work. But our hope is and has always been to get to the point where we can publish the work of other writers.
Okay. That's really amazing. I take my hat off to you and your mom, because that is actually a fantastic step to take. And, you mentioned something about, where the book, you were determined that people read the story, that the story was out in the world. And from your own point of view, how important is it for us as people of color, women of color, to actually tell our own story, actually tell our own narratives?
It's so, so, so important. Like, I cannot stress that enough. When it comes to books, especially for children, there's an analogy that I like to use and it's windows and mirrors. And all too often, children, when they read books, there are a set of children that are always looking into a mirror. So they're always seeing themselves, people like them, their culture, their background, people who look like them reflected back. And then there are other children, whenever they read books, they are always looking through a window and seeing someone else's culture and people that look other to them. And historically, minorities are the ones looking through windows. And I think it's important that children get to experience both, because it's important to see yourself reflected back at you in what you read. And it's also important to see and experience other cultures, because that's how we normalize difference. And children, most of the information that they get and the knowledge that they get when growing up is through books, whether it be in the classroom or reading for leisure. So if a large part of the population only ever sees themselves, then how can we progress in our fight for equality, our fight against racism? Because the barriers aren't being broken down, and it's got to start in that place of what our children are consuming, whether it be books, toys, TV shows, games, etc. So it is so important that we get our stories out. And, for me, one of my biggest frustrations for a few years now has been I'm getting fed up as Black people, we have fought for so long, and I don't think any other race or culture fights as hard as we do. And I'm so proud of all that we've done and accomplished. But I sometimes feel we are fighting for the wrong things, in as much as I mean that I think our focus should be less on fighting for recognition by other people or fighting for a seat at other people's table. And let's actually start building our own tables. If we're not getting Oscars or film roles, let's start producing our own movies and casting Black people, and let's create an award show. You know what I mean? Instead of looking for recognition from the outside world, let's build ourselves up. And if we pump some of the energies that we are spending on complaining about what isn't, and spend some of that energy on building
what is
new infrastructure and what is for us, I think we would get so much further.
And just to kind of further that point, because there is that thing about, yes, if they're not opening the doors, you build your own door and bring your own table. And when you start bringing in your own table, they have to acknowledge you when you're in the room, when you're saying you're an equal. So look at the team that brought us Black Panther.
Yes.
No one is going to tell them they're not invited to a seat at that table because they're like, oh, you don't want us at your table? Let's take our 1 billion and go.
Mm-hmm. Look, people will be asking for invitation to their table. So even talk of needing someone else's, it's completely moot point. They've created a whole new table, a whole new opportunities, and they now have the opportunity to create new opportunities for other people that previously did not exist. So we now need to be our own opportunity providers.
No, so, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. So, looking at the companies, looking at everything that you've done, what would you say is the biggest challenge that you've experienced that you had to navigate as someone who co-owns a publishing company?
I think it's two things. One that's specific to industry and what I do with the books and stuff. It's the marketing side of things. And that's quite specific, probably to anything where you're selling anything, but especially within the publishing industry, which is how to market your products, how to make people aware that you exist and your products exist. That has been some of the hardest hills that we've had to fight. And then I think the other part is it's very different working for yourself and owning a business. In this country, and it's very different from in the States and to a certain extent Africa, where you are encouraged to be an entrepreneur, encouraged to be a business owner, and to kind of step outside of the box. In Britain, I feel we're more like the class system is still very present. And that infrastructure is still very much there, and it drives how the different classes are educated and what they're pushed to do and strive for, such that the working class and to a large part middle class as well, we're kind of the worker ants and the worker bees, and we're not really taught or pushed or encouraged to think or be beyond that. It seems to be the realm of business owners and leaders is just for upper middle class and upper class. Yeah. So when you try to work or think outside of those boxes and those constraints, it can be difficult, especially as an ethnic minority and then a woman. So those have been some of the struggles. So we're having to learn a lot of stuff on the fly because the resources and the information isn't always easily or freely available. So it's that switching up of the cap of coming out of being an employee to being a business owner. That has been very challenging and interesting.
Okay. I think, there is that point, and it's slowly turned around, but there's still this idea that, especially for us, even if you think about it, those who are of ethnic background, our upbringing was you go to school, you get a good degree, you get a good job, and that was the end of it. And to do anything else was to cause your parents some serious sleepless nights and heart failure.
That is true.
So I think there is that. And I think it's also very important that we now start taking those steps, not just for ourselves, but for our own legacy, for what we are leaving and going to leave behind. Because what you're going to leave for your daughters is that you have the ability to create for yourself, which is actually very important.
Yeah, I mean, and it's becoming more and more apparent to me. I mean, in raising them, I am their first and probably most important role model of what a woman is, what she can achieve and what she can do. And if nothing pushes me, that pushes me. And it's why I get up every morning. It's not just providing for them, but it's what am I showing them? What am I reflecting? And especially with my eldest, she learns more from what isn't said almost than what is. She's very observant and she's learning and she's watching in everything that she sees. So I have to be so careful and mindful of what I'm showing to her. And it's not enough to say it. I have to live it as well.
Of course. Well, you know what? I take my hat off to you. I really do. Because the reason why I say this, you are so many things at so many points. You know, just in case anybody, joined us halfway. And let me just tell you again what this woman does. You're a blogger, an author, a publisher. Have I missed out anything? A hair consultant / coach. Did I miss out anything?
No, I mean, and then of course, mother and daughter. Sorry, mother and wife. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a lot on one plate. So my question is, how do you manage your time effectively to be able to do all of these things without anything feeling like it's suffering?
The answer to that is it's not possible, because I won't sit here and say I've got everything on lockdown. I constantly worry that something is suffering, whether it be my children or some task that I haven't done. It is a very difficult thing to balance a working life with motherhood, and because I do strongly believe that it's important for women to have the opportunities that they want, whether that be to be a stay-at-home mom or whether that is to build a conglomerate. It's important to have that opportunities, and all those desires and wishes should be respected.
Right.
And I'm trying to do both. And one of the things I am beginning to learn is you cannot go full throttle on both or everything without something suffering. So it's a constant juggling act. In terms of what I do, I've had to turn down many things and many opportunities because it just was not, I couldn't make it work with my commitments as a mother, and vice versa. So I'm blessed in that I have a very supportive family, from my parents, who do babysitting duty, and my, siblings who help out, to a very incredibly supportive husband who also actually has his own business and works for himself. So our lifestyle is very unconventional, and it definitely takes some juggling, because I'm also not one of those women who has a 9-to-5 husband. So it's like, oh yes, evenings and weekends, I can do this, I can do that, I can get, no, those are actually my husband's busiest periods. So it is a constant juggling act. But I have an administration background. That's what I have done for a long time in terms of PA. So having that organizational experience does help. I rely heavily on to-do lists.
Okay.
And I just work my way through slowly, tick things off. And what I am coming to realize is I have to also build in me time. Otherwise, I'm going to burn out, because I went through a period, especially when we came to the design and illustration process of this most recent book, where I was burning the candle at both ends. And it was tough, because it was feeling like the only time that I had for myself to be able to even think or breathe, never mind read a book or something, was in the twilight hours.
Right.
So when I should be going to bed, and I know I should be going to bed because I've got a long day tomorrow, but it's like, but I haven't had me time. I've been, feeding this one and packing that. And, so it's like, this is the only time I've got. So then I'm up at 12 a.m., 1 a.m. just to get a sense of, I've got me time. And also there are times when I worry that I am not giving my children enough of my attention, because I work for myself. My phone is always in my hand, it feels sometimes, and I'm always sending an email here or posting that or doing this. So what I'm coming to find is a couple of tricks: digital detox. So I'm having to block out time where I can say, okay, this is time for the kids. Phone has to be put somewhere else. Because I know if it's anywhere near me, I will be tempted to check an email or do that. So it has to go somewhere else. Because my daughter, now when I wake up in the morning, when she comes to wake me up, she will pick up 2 things for mummy: her glasses and her phone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When she did, I was like, okay, that's got to stop, because I don't necessarily want her to feel like she's fighting for my attention with my phone.
Right.
So, yeah, so it's blocking out times like that. We are quite heavily, like, I have to do routines. I've never been able to do baby-led parenting. So I've always had to very much put my kids on a routine, from their sleep schedules to eating, everything, in order to be able to get things done. And I've been blessed that I've got pretty easygoing kids who do well with routines. So heavily relying on schedules, routines, and organizationally, and the rest, it's God,
Okay.
the strength to just kind of keep going. And this is my passion. this is my joy. So yes, it's work, and there can be trying times, but I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. And I'm incredibly blessed and lucky to be able to do what I love.
Okay, you said a mouthful, and yes, I'm glad that you're honest. I'm glad that you're totally clear that it's not possible to do everything without one thing maybe suffering a bit. And you pointed out some very key points. We need the organization, we need the support, we can't do it alone, and we need the tools behind us. So I am taking notes myself, and especially about the lists and making sure that you create time and space for digital detox. And I think that's also quite important. We've had a couple of questions come back in for you.
Okay.
And one of them goes, time permitting, looking at all the things that you have on your plate, what would you like to write about that you've not yet done so at the moment?
There is a book that I have been trying to write for a little while now, and every time I get a chance to go back into it and do a couple more chapters, it just fires me up. It's an older book, so it's more of a young adult book, and it was an idea that I got quite a few years ago, and it centers around a young Black girl who has mutant powers, and the source of those powers, or the mutation, is her hair. And I wanted to, because hair features a lot in what I do, partly because it's my knowledge base. And I do feel like hair is a fantastic metaphor for a lot of things pertaining to race and Black women, because as Black people, hair is the number one, hair or skin, signifier of our differences in terms of the races. And a lot of how Black women feel about themselves historically and to this day, the hair has always played a big role in that. So for me, this character, I'm so excited to explore how the thing that in her life she most hates or wants to change becomes the thing that is now the source of her strength and allows her to achieve some truly amazing feats.
Ooh, I will love to read this. So yes, that sounds like something I personally will love to read. Yeah, so please keep writing so that we get to have this one.
I will do. I will try and carve some time out to do so.
There's everything that you've done. If you look back on everything and your journey so far, what's the one thing that you will tell your 18-year-old self?
That what seemed like an Israelite's journey and what seemed like an error or a mistake or a waste of time was actually for a purpose, because I didn't find myself or find my calling until just before I turned 30. And I spent quite a few years sort of feeling mournful for what felt like wasted years and wasted time and wasted opportunities. And it's only now, as I'm approaching 35, that I realize actually everything served a purpose, and much, or if not all, of what I'm doing now would not have been possible if I had gone the route that I'd gone through and experienced a lot of things that I'd experienced, for better or for worse. It's all made me the person that I am today. And a lot of the skills and experiences that I now have and I'm able to utilize and use came from that journey. So my 18-year-old self, hang on in there, it will make sense eventually.
Awesome. That's an awesome way to look at it. Nothing is wasted. It's all part of the journey. Now, I always ask this on the show. We ask for our So Loud moment of the week. It has, who you want to celebrate, whether a person or thing. What's your So Loud moment of the week?
Well, my So Loud moment, it's very much tied into who I am and what I do. And I would like to celebrate all the men who are actively involved in their children's lives and supporting their partners, because I am one of those partners. I could not achieve the things that I have achieved and continue to do so if I did not have the support of my husband. And to see the effect his presence and his actions and his sacrifices have on my children and our children, it's phenomenal. So for all the dads and husbands and partners and fiancés out there who are standing, holding it down and being there for their family, much love and respect.
Okay, yeah, that's a so loud moment where it's celebrating, and we're going to do it with this. Okay, so Tola, what's next for you?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, with the books, obviously we've got the third book in the series, Kechi's Hair Goes Every Which Way, launching on the 15th of May. We've actually got a launch event at Brixton Library on the 29th of May as part of their literary festival. So I'll be there doing a reading from the books, and we've got some great craft activities for the kids. It's during half term. I'm also at New Beacon Books on I think it's the 19th of May, doing a reading from the new book. So we've got a few events around the book launch coming up. And then obviously it's carrying on with the hair coaching that I do, and just trying to find time to write some of these other books that are inside of me and get them out.
Oh, that sounds like a good thing. And if you send us a couple of links, we can put it up and share. I personally will love to come out to the book launches, and so please keep me posted.
I will do. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And just finally, before we wrap up, how can people find you to, talk to you about becoming a Dear Hair consultant, Dear Hair coach?
Yeah. So I have two websites. So there's my main website, which is Tola Okogwu.com. So it's my first name, last name.com. And the website for my hair coaching services is mylonghairjourney.co.uk. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter. Both are, it's just my first name, last name, Tola Okogwu on both. And also on Instagram. So if you literally Google Tola Okogwu, you will find me without a doubt.
Okay. All right. So you've heard it here, people. Reach out to Tola, whether it's to get the books for your little ones or just to have it in your library. If you're looking for a hair coach to help you with your own hair journey, reach out to this woman. She is somebody you ought to have on your side. So Tola, it's been an incredible pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. I've had so much fun. So thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I will definitely have you back when we want to talk about any of your future projects, and we'll talk about some hair coaching in the future.
Excellent. I can't wait.
Awesome. So, people, that's a wrap. We've had the multi-talented, multifaceted Tola Okogwu on the show. You know what to do. Leave us a review. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Drop us a message. Reach out to us. You know how to find us. And you'll be hearing from us same time, same place next week. It's a wrap.
You've been listening to The Shine Out Loud Show. If you want to connect with us or let us know what you thought of today's show, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Shine Out Show.